Welcome to Sporty's VFR Radio Communications program. In this program, we'll explore what makes up good radio communication. You'll hear proper communication techniques demonstrated in a number of situations. During this program, we'll be simulating various scenarios so you can clearly understand how to properly communicate. Over the course of your aviation training and after gaining experience flying in the aviation system, you'll likely develop subtle style differences for effective aviation communication. Now let's begin with an overview of good radio communication procedures. The Aeronautical Information Manual is the official source for good radio communication procedures. The Pilot Controller Glossary, often found in the back of the AIM, defines many of the common words and phrases that are used in the world of aviation. You should obtain a copy of these and familiarize yourself with the contained information. There is a proper way to pronounce the letters of the alphabet and numerals on the radio. For example, when giving your aircraft call sign, use the phonetic alphabet constructed by the ICAO, the International Civil Aviation Organization. At first, this may sound strange to you, but it really helps to reduce misunderstanding, especially during adverse communications conditions. Each of the letters of the alphabet has a corresponding phonetic to help clarify it. For example, A, B, C is pronounced Alpha, Bravo, Charlie. The full list of alphabet and numeral phonetics can be found in the Aeronautical Information Manual. Most of the individual numerals are pronounced the same way you would pronounce them in a non-aviation setting. A few use a special pronunciation to ensure clarity over the radio. 9 is pronounced niner. 5 should sound like fife, and 3 is articulated as tree. Altitudes, ceiling heights, and other large numbers are indicated as hundreds and thousands in round numbers. A ceiling height of 9,500 feet would be indicated as 9,500. For numbers at or higher than 10,000 feet, you should pronounce the individual digits for thousands and hundreds if appropriate. When reporting an altitude of 12,500, say 12,500. While VFR operations are not permitted, altitudes above 18,000 feet are indicated as a flight level. Each digit of the flight level is pronounced when on the radio. 23,000 feet would be spoken as flight level 230. The individual digits of a radio frequency should also be enunciated. The decimal point should be spoken as point. For example, 122.1. The 3 digits of a bearing, course, heading, or wind direction should be spoken individually. Directions on the radio are in relation to magnetic unless the word true is added to the transmission. Cessna 53417, heading 010, would tell Cessna 53417 to turn to a heading 10 degrees to the right of magnetic north. A speed should be expressed as separate digits as well. 120 knots would be stated as 120 knots. The word knots will be included, though a controller may omit it when using speed adjustment procedures. Time may be expressed as Coordinated Universal Time or in the local time zone. 0920 would indicate 9:20 Zulu. The use of the Zulu description may be used, but is not required. The word local or the time zone equivalent would be used to denote when the time is not UTC. Time may also be expressed in minutes after the hour when a misunderstanding is not likely to occur. As a general rule, most other numbers are transmitted by pronouncing each digit. An exception to this is in the description of airways used in IFR flying. Here, V12 is pronounced Victor 12. Another exception would be for ATC traffic position reports. These are given in reference to the clock face. Traffic that is directly in front of the aircraft's ground track would be reported as being at the 12 o'clock position. 30 or so degrees to the left of the track would be reported as 11 o'clock. 30 or so degrees to the right of the track would be reported as 1 o'clock. ATC traffic reports are in relation to the track rather than the nose of the airplane because radar does not show your crab angle. All U.S. registered aircraft numbers begin with an N. For brevity, the N is eliminated in your transmission. The proper way to say the registration number for N218AZ would be 218 Alpha Zulu. You need to speak clearly on the radio, using proper technique to avoid misunderstanding. Don't forget that words like Roger and affirmative are not interchangeable. Each has a unique meaning in radio communications. Roger means that I have received all of your last transmission. It should not be used to answer a question requiring a yes or no answer. Affirmative and negative are used for yes and no, respectively. Wilco is similar in meaning to Roger. Wilco means, I have received your message, understand it, and will comply with it. Remember the 4 W's of radio communication: who you are calling, who you are, where you are, and what you want. The proper way to initiate communication with ATC is to give your location, aircraft type, altitude, what you want to do, and if you have ATIS. Try to eliminate unnecessary words like this is, at, and over. If the frequency is very busy, shorten your initial contact to save frequency congestion. Once acknowledged by the controller, complete the rest of the W's.
Dayton approach, Aztec 7020 Sierra Papa, 1 south of Farmersville, VFR.
Aztec 2 Sierra Papa, Dayton, Sabre Quest.
Aztec 2 Sierra Papa, 2500, landing Dayton, information Oscar.
Aztec 2 Sierra Papa, Squawk 0424, Dayton altimeter 29907.
Squawk 0424, altimeter 29907, Aztec 2 Sierra Papa.
Subsequent calls to ATC or responses to a ground station instruction will typically eliminate one or more of the 4 W's. When who you are calling has been eliminated during a response, the who you are may be placed at the beginning or end of the transmission as is most convenient.
Aztec 2 Sierra Papa, turn left heading 020.
Heading 020, Aztec 2 Sierra Papa.
An initial call to ATC by a student pilot should include the words student pilot at the end of the transmission. This allows the controller to provide the student with extra assistance. It will also encourage the controller to slow down and have patience with the pilot. This identification should be added to the initial contact with each subsequent air traffic control station. At a non-towered field, the 4 W's are still used on initial contact. Your first radio call might go something like Butler County Unicom, Cessna 121 Uniform Charlie, 10 miles north, 3,000 feet, inbound for landing, request airport advisory. Here are a few more important behaviors to note in order to improve your communication skills. When you are ready to transmit, listen for a few seconds before you key the mic. Another communication on your selected frequency may be in progress. If you call when the frequency is occupied, you will be doubling with the other operator and thus interfering with his communication. Think out what you want to say before you initiate the call. This will prevent hesitation, unnecessary words, and will clarify your ideas prior to making the contact. Whatever type of mic you are using, keep it close to your lips. This will help to block background aircraft noises from distorting your communication. If you don't get an immediate response to your call-up, wait a few seconds before trying again. The person on the other end may be occupied at the moment. While on any ATC frequency, make sure that the controller is talking to you before acting or replying. Similar call signs may also be on the frequency. In sections of our program that follow, we'll take a look at a number of communication situations that you're likely to encounter as a VFR pilot. Let's begin with procedures for operating into and out of a non-tower airport. This type of airport will be found in Class G or Class E airspace. Don't forget, radio communications are not mandatory at this type of airport. Proper reporting makes your operations safer, but there may be pilots flying without a radio. Maintain an active visual scan for other aircraft and always fly a standard traffic pattern even if you don't hear anything on the radio. When approaching a non-tower field, you should determine the active runway. There are a number of ways to do this. First, check out the local weather. Many non-tower airports in the U.S. have automated weather information available to the pilot. Depending on their complexity, the facility may be classified as an AWOS, ASOS, or the newer AWIS system. If one is available, you can locate the frequency in the chart supplement, on your sectional, or in your GPS.
Sporty's Claremont County Airport. Automated weather observation 2046 Zulu weather wind 240 at 17 gust 29er visibility 10 ceiling 2300 overcast temperature 10 Celsius dew point 5 altimeter 29er 22.
The wind report may give you an idea of which runway is in use. The weather reporting system will typically update the message on a minute-by-minute basis. If the weather is changing, the broadcast will be updated quickly. The broadcast will be a computer-generated voice. The system may also have a provision for the airport operator to record NOTAMs that directly affect the airport. This can also be used for weather information that may not be easily discernible by the automated system. The CTAF frequency can be found the same way as the weather frequency. Listen to it for a few minutes to determine what other pilots are doing in the area. CTAF is an acronym for Common Traffic Advisory Frequency. It allows pilots to communicate their intentions in the environment of a non-towered airport. At many airports, the CTAF and Unicom are the same frequency. The CTAF on the sectional is indicated by a circle with a C in the center. To give an advisory of your intention and position, call on CTAF by starting your communication with Georgetown Traffic. If you want information regarding the airport and its environment, call on the Unicom frequency with the phrase Georgetown Unicom.
The CTAF is not for casual chatter between the pilots of different aircraft or personnel on the ground. Non-essential communication on this frequency may block an important radio call that's critical to someone's safety.
You should not transmit the phrase, "Traffic in the area, please advise," to determine the active runway. This will only tend to clog the frequency without serving the intended purpose. Listening is much more effective. If the airport doesn't have a weather reporting station and no communications are heard on CTAF, call Unicom for a landing advisory. A call on Unicom would be something like this.
Claremont County Unicom, Skyhawk 121 Uniform Charlie, 10 miles east, landing advisory.
Skyhawk 121 Uniform Charlie, Claremont Unicom, winds are 240 at 10 knots, aircraft in the pattern using runway 22.
Skyhawk 1 Uniform Charlie, runway 22.
If you know the active runway without the call to Unicom, make your initial call on the CTAF about 10 miles out. It should contain the airport name, followed by the word traffic, your aircraft type and N number, your intentions, and follow up with the name of the airport. Adding the name of the airport at the end of the transmission is optional, but can be useful for advising others in the area where you are located. CTAF frequencies are used for multiple airports, and this can be confusing. You might say,
Claremont County Traffic, Skyhawk 121 Uniform Charlie, 10 miles east, landing 22, Claremont Traffic.
Make your entry call on the CTAF.
Claremont County Traffic, Skyhawk 1 Uniform Charlie, 4 miles out, 45 to the left downwind, landing 22, Claremont Traffic.
Note the shortened call sign. This is acceptable provided that your aircraft won't be confused with another on the frequency. About 2 miles from the airport, call your entry to the downwind.
Claremont County Traffic, Skyhawk 1 Uniform Charlie, entering left downwind, landing 22, Claremont Traffic.
Continue to call your position on base and final provided that the frequency is not saturated.
Claremont County Traffic, Skyhawk 1 Uniform Charlie, left base 22, Claremont Traffic. Claremont County Traffic, Skyhawk 1 Uniform Charlie, final 22, Claremont Traffic.
When you are clear of the active, make that call and complete the after landing checks.
Claremont County Traffic, Skyhawk 1 Uniform Charlie, clear of 22.
Departure from a non-towered field begins on the ramp. Listen to the automated weather broadcast, if available, to determine the winds and potential active. Listen to the local CTAF to ascertain what other aircraft in the vicinity of the airport are doing. A radio check on the CTAF may be useful to ensure proper radio operation and frequency.
Claremont traffic, Skyhawk 121 Uniform Charlie, radio check.
I hear the radio check.
Ensure that the transponder is set to the VFR squawk code of 1200 and place it in the altitude position. The transponder is a useful communication device. It provides your aircraft with a higher degree of safety in an increasingly complex environment. Your transponder makes your aircraft much more visible on a controller's radar screen. He can easily track and alert you or other aircraft to the whereabouts of nearby traffic. Traffic information can also be sent directly to the cockpit of a properly equipped aircraft.
Monitor the CTAF during your taxi to the active runway, but recognize that not all airport users may be using a radio. Keep your eyes open.
After completing your before takeoff checks, scan the area for traffic before announcing your departure. If all is clear, complete your lineup checks, including verifying your transponder is set to altitude. Announce your departure, scan the area again, and taxi onto the runway. Position and hold or line up and wait should not be used at a non-towered airport.
Claremont County traffic, Skyhawk 121 Uniform Charlie, departing 22, closed traffic.
Closed traffic would indicate that you plan to remain in the traffic pattern at the Claremont County Airport. After takeoff, you would call your turn to crosswind and successive legs as before.
Claremont County traffic, Skyhawk 1 Uniform Charlie, left crosswind 22, Claremont traffic.
The departure announcement would change slightly if you were planning to depart the area after takeoff.
Claremont County traffic, Skyhawk 121 Uniform Charlie, departing 22, southeast departure. Claremont County traffic, Skyhawk 1 Uniform Charlie, departing southeast.
There are only two standard traffic pattern departures for non-towered airports: straight out and a 45-degree turn in the direction of the pattern. Using a standard departure helps to improve safety at this type of airfield. Your ultimate direction of flight should be included in your departure call.
Correct communication is safety insurance. Adhering to the proper communication protocol tells everyone you're a knowledgeable and a professional pilot. A good example to all around you.
Now let's take a look at some of the communications that you may encounter while en route under VFR. Many cross-country flights will begin with the opening of and end with the closing of a VFR flight plan. This is normally done over the radio with a flight service station, generally using a remote communications outlet. An RCO is a local facility that will connect your radio to flight service via a landline. This enables a pilot located on a satellite airport to easily talk with flight service. Check your sectional or chart supplement to see if there is an RCO in your area.
Dayton Radio, Skyhawk 2014 Hotel, receiving on 122.4.
Skyhawk 2014 Hotel, Dayton Radio, go ahead.
Dayton Radio, Skyhawk 14 Hotel would like to open our VFR flight plan from Lima Uniform Kilo to Romeo India Delta, departed 10 minutes ago.
Skyhawk 14 Hotel, your flight plan is now active. Anything else?
14 Hotel, negative.
Initial contact with an RCO should include the frequency you will use to receive their transmission. This helps the flight service specialist know which of his dozens of frequencies he should use for a reply.
Some RCOs use separate frequencies for transmitting and receiving. This type of arrangement is frequently used when the RCO uses the voice capability of a nav aid. The R beside the 122.1 indicates that this is a receive-only frequency for flight service. You will use this for your transmission. Just be sure to turn up the volume on the nav radio and select it on the audio panel when using this arrangement.
Terre Haute Radio, Skyhawk 2014 Hotel, receiving over Richmond VOR.
Skyhawk 2014 Hotel, Terre Haute Radio.
Skyhawk 14 Hotel has Richmond in sight. Would like to close our VFR flight plan.
Skyhawk 14 Hotel, Roger. Your VFR flight plan is now closed.
En route Flight Advisory Service, or EFAS, is used to provide en route aircraft with weather advisories. Known by the radio call sign Flight Watch, it provides weather pertinent to the type of flight, route of flight, and altitude. It also serves as a collection and distribution point for PIREPs. EFAS is normally available throughout the conterminous United States and Puerto Rico from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. This service may be reached by aircraft flying above 5,000 feet AGL up to 17,500 feet MSL on a common frequency of 122.2. Discrete frequencies are used in the flight levels.
Indianapolis Flight Watch, Skyhawk 2014 Hotel, in the area of Falmouth VOR.
Skyhawk 2014 Hotel, Indianapolis Flight Watch. Go ahead.
Skyhawk 14 Hotel, 10 miles east of Falmouth VOR at 6,500, en route to Lima Echo X-Ray. Would like an update on the weather.
EFAS should only be used for weather-related activities. It should not be used for filing or amending a flight plan and other flight service activities.
While less complete than an EFAS interaction, you can obtain local weather conditions by listening to automated weather stations along your route. Hazardous in-flight weather advisory service may also provide weather information of a critical nature. HIWAS is broadcast over select VOR sites throughout the conterminous U.S. It does not provide two-way voice communication. The availability of HIWAS is indicated in the chart supplement and on aeronautical charts.
While flying VFR, it can be useful to have an extra set of eyes on your flight. Radar flight following can be a valuable resource.
Flight following is an optional service in Class E airspace provided by ATC to VFR aircraft on a workload permitting basis. When taking part in flight following, the VFR aircraft is radar identified and in communication with a controller. This allows the controller to provide traffic advisories and other assistance to the aircraft. In return, the controller gets a confirmation of the aircraft's identity, route of flight, and altitude. This allows the controller to provide improved service to IFR traffic in the area as well. Primary navigation along with see and avoid responsibilities remain with the VFR pilot. Flight following may be requested from an air route traffic control center or from a terminal radar approach control facility. ARTCC or center frequencies may be found in the chart supplement. TRACON or approach frequencies may be found on the sectional chart and in the chart supplement.
Columbus Approach, Skyhawk 2014 Hotel, over Plain City at 4,500. Request flight following to Toledo.
Skyhawk 2014 Hotel, Squawk 0424 ident, Columbus altimeter 29908.
Skyhawk 14 Hotel, squawking 0424 ident, altimeter 29908.
Skyhawk 14 Hotel, radar contact 1 mile north of Plain City, say on course heading.
Skyhawk 14 Hotel, heading is tree 48.
14 Hotel, roger. Skyhawk 14 Hotel, traffic 2 o'clock, 4 miles southbound, altitude indicates 5,500, unverified.
Skyhawk 14 Hotel, looking for traffic. Columbus Approach, Skyhawk 14 Hotel, traffic in sight.
14 Hotel, roger.
If you need to leave the frequency for a few minutes to update weather, simply advise the controller of this.
Columbus Approach, Skyhawk 14 Hotel, would like to leave the frequency to update weather.
14 Hotel, roger. Report back on my frequency.
Skyhawk 14 Hotel will report back.
You might also want to listen to a recorded weather broadcast, such as the ASOS from a nearby airport or HIWAS over a nearby VOR. You may be able to do this without leaving the flight following frequency. Simply select the audio output for the second radio on your audio panel while maintaining the output on the ATC radio. Listen carefully to both, giving ATC's frequency the priority. At times, ATC will coordinate your flight following with the next sector and hand you off to a controller on another frequency.
Skyhawk 14 Hotel, contact Cleveland Center, 1 Tree 5.1.
Cleveland Center, 1 Tree 5.1, Skyhawk 14 Hotel.
At other times, the controller's workload may not allow this direct handoff.
Skyhawk 14 Hotel, leaving my airspace, squawk 1200. For further flight following, suggest Cleveland Center, 1 Tree 5.1.
Squawking VFR, Cleveland Center, 1 Tree 5.1 for further, Skyhawk 14 Hotel.
As a VFR pilot, you may also cancel the flight following yourself.
Columbus approach, Skyhawk 14 Hotel, cancel flight following.
14 Hotel, roger, squawk 1200, frequency change approved.
Throughout this program, we've been describing and demonstrating the proper way to communicate under VFR. When you get into your airplane and go fly, you will inevitably hear some things that don't quite fit our descriptions. You may also hear some non-standard communication that is not necessarily improper, but that can be confusing. Well, this is okay. Remember, everyone you hear on the frequency should be able to communicate in plain English. If you ever find yourself confused, simply communicate as you would in a normal conversation. While we're not advocating any incorrect techniques, we want you to understand what is being communicated and how to resolve the information. You will likely hear letters and numbers specified in ways other than described in the AIM. Some pilots may use a shortened call sign. 80 Mike Charlie may get verbalized as 80 MC. The numbers 3, 5, and 9 may be heard using their common pronunciations. A frequency stipulated as 126.65 or simply 2665 indicates 126.65. One stated as 121.0 should be understood as 121.0. An altitude of 4.5 is actually 4,500 feet. This may also be heard stated as 4,500. The ICAO phonetic alphabet has been the standard for U.S. civilian aviation since the mid-1950s. Occasionally, you may still hear phonetic letters from an earlier system. Instrument pilots often use a language unique to their type of flying. While correct for instrument operations, some of their phrases can be confusing to the VFR pilot. The instrument pilot may refer to his position in reference to a waypoint that is not on VFR charts or in reference to an instrument approach. While a complete discussion of instrument communications is beyond the scope of this program, you should keep some basics in mind. Approaches are often to a particular runway. You can think of the approach as an extended final leg terminating at that runway. If an instrument pilot reports inbound on an approach, he's likely somewhere along this final leg, flying toward the airport. If he reports outbound on an approach, he may be in this same area, but will be flying away from the airport to get set up for the approach. If you're flying at a non-towered field and an instrument pilot reports a location that does not make sense to your VFR experience, simply ask the pilot to clarify his position relative to the airport. If this occurs at a tower-controlled field, you can ask the controller for clarification on the other aircraft's position if it is a concern. A type of non-standard communication that may also require clarification is a pilot reporting her position relative to a local landmark. This can be a common practice at non-towered airports. While the locals may know where a pilot is when reporting over the red roof buildings, you might want to request that position relative to the airport. Tower controllers may also throw you a curveball now and then. When a controller tells you, "Stay with me," as you exit the runway, he's saying that things are slow, and he'll also be the ground controller for your taxi to the ramp. Make a 180 on the runway means that the controller wants you to turn your aircraft around. This will likely be followed by instructions to exit the runway at a taxiway that you passed during your landing roll. When taxiing at a tower-controlled airport, the controller's instructions may tell you to follow a particular aircraft. Learning what various models of aircraft look like can be helpful. If you're not sure which aircraft the controller is talking about, ask for clarification. Occasionally, you may hear pilots responding to a controller with phrases like "in the window," "in the box," or "on the dial." In the window generally refers to the Colesman window of the altimeter. The pilot is responding to an altimeter setting reference from ATC. In the box typically refers to setting a code in the transponder. The box can also denote a traffic display system such as TCAS. The pilot tells the controller, "We've got him on the box, looking," in response to an ATC traffic report. Other pilots will occasionally refer to this device as the fish finder. On the dial is a response sometimes used when reporting an altitude or referencing an altitude assignment. As you can see, non-standard communications can be confusing. Don't add to this confusion. Use the standard phraseology whenever possible.
Now that we've gotten our feet wet talking to ATC during flight following, let's take some flights into and out of a Class D airport. Many tower-controlled airports have automatic terminal information service. ATIS is the continuous broadcast of recorded non-control information such as current weather conditions and NOTAMs. It is intended to help controllers and decrease control frequency congestion. ATIS automates the repetitive transmission of essential but routine information. It is continuously broadcast over a discrete VHF frequency or in the voice portion of a local nav aid. The frequency may be found in the chart supplement and on your chart. You should be able to receive this ATIS transmission up to 60 nautical miles from the ATIS site. You should also be able to receive the transmission when on the ground at the ATIS airport. Listen to the ATIS broadcast prior to arrival or departure from an airport with this system. This will help relieve congestion on approach control, ground control, and local control frequencies. You will simply advise the initial controller the phonetic identification for the broadcast that you listened to. The ATIS broadcast will be updated when a new METAR is issued or when there is a change in other pertinent broadcast information. When the broadcast is updated, the next phonetic letter in the alphabet will be used as the new identification.
Airport information November, time 1152 Zulu, wind 2807, visibility 10, few clouds 3000, overcast 4800. Temperature 11, dew point 06, altimeter 3004. Visual approaches, landing and departing, runway 21 left. Notice airman, taxiway Delta's closed between runway 21 right approach end and Alpha taxiway. Advise on initial contact, you have information November.
You can start listening to the ATIS once in range during a quiet en route portion of the flight. Take your time and listen to all of the details. If you miss something, listen again. When you get to within 20 to 25 miles of the airport, you should listen again to see if the message has changed. If you hear a new phonetic identifier, note any changes. With the ATIS information and identifier in hand, contact the tower at approximately 15 miles out. You may not enter the Class D airspace until you have established radio contact with the controller. This means the controller must acknowledge you with your call sign.
Lunken Tower, Cessna 12064, 14 miles north, 2,500, landing, information Charlie.
Cessna 12064, expect the visual runway 21 left, say type aircraft.
064 is a Cessna Skyhawk.
Skyhawk 064, report 4 mile final, runway 21 left.
Report 4 mile final for runway 21 left, Skyhawk 064.
Your entry into the traffic pattern at a tower-controlled airport may be on any of the 4 legs. The tower controller will advise his instructions based upon the runway in use and the direction from which you are approaching. Listen carefully and follow the instructions. Unless it will interfere with current autopilot operations, set the heading bug or HSI to the assigned runway. This provides a memory and visual aid to ensure your arrival on the correct runway. On a different flight, the controller asked our pilot to enter on the downwind leg.
Skyhawk 064, report entering left downwind, runway 25, Traffic on 6 mile final to runway 21 left.
Report left downwind, runway 25, looking for traffic, Skyhawk 064. Lunkin Tower, Skyhawk 064, left downwind, runway 25.
Skyhawk 064, roger. I'll call your base. Traffic on 3 mile final to runway 21 left.
Skyhawk 064, roger. Traffic in sight, you'll call the base.
Depending on traffic or other factors, the controller may expect you to fly the traffic pattern on your own, or he may call your turn to base leg for spacing. Follow the controller's directions.
At some point, the tower controller will clear you to land. Unless you hear this clearance and confirm it with a readback, do not land.
Skyhawk 064, turn base. Clear to land, runway 25.
Skyhawk 064, turning base, clear to land, runway 25.
If you are working on landings at a tower-controlled airport, you may decide to ask the tower for the option. When cleared for the option, the controller is giving you permission to make your landing a touch and go, stop and go, or full stop landing.
Lunkin Tower, Skyhawk 064, request the option.
Skyhawk 064, cleared for the option, runway 25.
Cleared for the option, runway 25, Skyhawk 064.
Landing clearance at a tower-controlled field may include a land and hold short requirement. You may accept the land and hold short clearance provided that you can determine that your aircraft can land safely and stop within the available landing distance. Available landing distance data is published in the chart supplement and in the U.S. Terminal Procedures publications. Controllers will also provide this data upon request. If you are a student pilot or are not familiar with land and hold short operations, you should not participate in the program. You, as the pilot in command, have the final authority to accept or decline any land and hold short clearance. The controller will require a full readback of any accepted land and hold short clearance. Once you've accepted a land and hold short clearance, you must adhere to it unless an amended clearance is obtained or an emergency occurs. If you are unsure that you will be able to stop prior to the hold short point, initiate a go-around and advise ATC. You are responsible for maintaining aircraft separation during a rejected landing.
Skyhawk 064, cleared to land, runway 9er right, hold short, runway 1432.
Cleared to land, runway 9er right, hold short, runway 1432, Skyhawk 064.
After landing and reaching taxi speed, you should exit the runway promptly at the first available taxiway or on an ATC-instructed taxiway. Do not exit the landing runway onto another runway unless authorized by ATC. Do not stop or reverse course on the runway without ATC approval. Taxi clear of the runway and bring your aircraft to a stop unless otherwise directed by ATC. Change to the ground control frequency when advised by the tower. The tower may omit the ground control frequency if the controller believes you will know the frequency. Most ground control frequencies begin with a 121. The controller may decide to omit these numbers when advising the frequency. Contact ground point 9er would indicate a frequency of 121.9er. If you are ever in doubt about the frequency to use, ask the controller. At slower times, the tower may be fulfilling the function of ground control as well. He may have you stay on the tower frequency during taxi operations. Follow his instructions. Obtain your taxi instructions from the ground controller. Read back the instructions and comply with any hold short requirements that you are assigned. Compare the instructions to your taxiway charts and signs that you see after you have completed your readback. When taxiing, you must receive a specific runway crossing clearance to cross or operate on any active, inactive, or closed runway along your route.
Skyhawk 064, contact ground point 9er.
Ground point 9er, Skyhawk 064. Lunkin ground, Skyhawk 12064, off runway 21 left at Bravo, request taxi to the terminal.
Skyhawk 064, taxi straight ahead via Bravo, right on Charlie, cross runway tree left, hold short, runway 725.
Straight on Bravo, right on Charlie, cross runway 3 left, hold short runway 725, Skyhawk 064.
Skyhawk 064, cross runway 725, continue on Charlie to the terminal ramp.
Cross runway 725 and taxi to the terminal ramp, Skyhawk 064.
Once you are clear of the movement area, you are no longer under the control of ATC. When departing from a tower-controlled airport, you should listen to ATIS before making any calls to ATC. This broadcast will provide you with necessary wind and altimeter information. It will also provide you with pertinent NOTAMs that may not have been available during your pre-flight planning, and it will give you an idea of the runway to expect for departure.
At less busy tower-controlled airports, typical of a Class D airspace airport, your VFR clearance will be obtained from ground control or the tower.
When ready to taxi onto the movement area of the airport, contact ground control. Advise them where you are located on the airport, what your departure plans are, that you have the appropriate ATIS information, and that you are ready to taxi. The ground controller will give taxi instructions to a specific point on the airport and may provide you with a clearance. Write down these instructions and read them back to the controller.
Lunken Grounds, Skyhawk 12064 at the terminal ramp. Taxi for a VFR departure east to Claremont County with information Delta.
Skyhawk 12064, runway 21 left. Turn left on Alpha and taxi via Alpha. Hold short, runway 21 right.
Left on Alpha to runway 21 left. Hold short, runway 21 right, Skyhawk 064.
If your aircraft has a heading bug or HSI, set one of these to the assigned takeoff runway before starting to taxi. If you have both, be consistent on which one you set to the runway heading or set them both to the runway heading. This will serve as an extra reminder of your destination during your taxi and will provide you with a visual indication that you are on the correct runway when lined up for takeoff.
Skyhawk 064, cross runway 21 right, hold short, runway 25.
Cross 21 right, hold short 25, Skyhawk 064.
You are expected to taxi to the approach end of the runway assigned unless ATC assigns or approves your request for an intersection departure. Unless told otherwise, monitor ground while performing your before takeoff checks. When ready for takeoff, switch to the tower frequency and call to advise. If your intersection is not the approach end of the runway, advise the tower of your position during this contact. Don't call the tower at a busy airport until you are number one for takeoff at your location.
Lunken Tower, Skyhawk 12064, holding short, runway 25, ready for takeoff, runway 21 left.
Skyhawk 064, Lunken Tower, cross runway 25, fly runway heading, remain below the class Bravo, clear for takeoff, runway 21 left.
Cross runway 25, runway heading below the Bravo, cleared for takeoff, runway 21 left, Skyhawk 064.
When the tower advises you to fly or maintain runway heading, this is precisely what the controller means. You are expected to fly or maintain the magnetic heading that corresponds with the extended center line of the departure runway. Do not apply drift correction in this situation. The runway centerline for Lunken's runway 21 left is aligned with 206 degrees magnetic. Our heading should remain 206 until further advised or until clear of the tower's airspace.
Skyhawk 064, turn on course to Claremont County.
On course to Claremont County, Skyhawk 064.
During the normal course of your departure, the tower controller may release you from his frequency, but this is not a requirement. Once you are clear of the tower's airspace, you are free to change to your next frequency. If the tower frequency isn't busy, common courtesy would have you advise the controller that you are out of the area and changing frequency. You might also want to contact the tower controller as you are departing the airspace if you need to obtain a frequency for flight following. Once you have mastered communications at a smaller Class D airport, moving on to an airport in Class C airspace is not that much more difficult. You will likely find tower, ground, and clearance delivery controllers and an ATIS broadcast, much like you may have found at the slower airport. In addition, Class C airspace will add approach and departure controllers to guide you into and out of the airspace.
The airspace and the radios may be busier, but the flow will tend to be logical. The process will tend to be well aligned with the Aeronautical Information Manual, and you will usually have fewer non-standard surprises.
Ground operations may be a bit more complicated, but a progressive taxi request can still help you along the way. The outer ring of Class C airspace is typically 10 nautical miles from the center of the airport. An uncharted outer area will generally extend out to 20 nautical miles. You should contact approach control within the outer area well before reaching the charted outer ring. As with Class D airspace, listen to the ATIS broadcast before making initial contact with the controller. During your initial contact with approach, advise the controller that you have the appropriate ATIS and your intentions. You will find a sector-based approach control frequency on the sectional chart. This frequency may also be found in the chart supplement.
Dayton approach, Skyhawk 6167 Lima, Farmersville, 3,500, landing Dayton with Juliet.
Skyhawk 6167 Lima, squawk 0421, ident.
0421 ident, Skyhawk 67 Lima.
The aircraft has now established radio contact and is in the process of being radar identified. With radio contact established, the aircraft may now enter the Class C airspace. The following is an example where radio contact has not been established and therefore the aircraft may not enter the Class C airspace.
Dayton approach, Skyhawk 6167 Lima, Farmersville, 3,500, landing Dayton with Juliet.
Aircraft calling Dayton, stand by.
Since the approach controller did not acknowledge the airplane's call sign, in the eyes of the FAA, radio contact has not been established. The controller also could have established radio contact with a standby.
Skyhawk 6167 Lima, stand by.
Now let's get back to our original situation where radar identification was in progress.
Skyhawk 67 Lima, radar contact 2 miles north of Farmersville. Fly heading 040, expect the visual, runway 6 right.
040, expect 6 right, Skyhawk 67 Lima.
Skyhawk 67 Lima, descend and maintain 2,500.
Skyhawk 67 Lima out of 3,500 for 2,500.
Skyhawk 67 Lima, turn left heading 360. Traffic will be at your 11 o'clock and 4 miles, a citation on 4 mile final, runway 6 right.
Left heading 360, have the traffic in sight, Skyhawk 67 Lima.
Skyhawk 67 Lima, maintain visual separation, follow the citation traffic, join the final, runway 6 right.
Roger, join the final 6 right, follow the citation traffic, maintain visual separation, Skyhawk 67 Lima.
As you get closer to the airport, the approach controller will hand you off to the tower controller. The controller may not provide this frequency. You can be prepared by looking this frequency up prior to the handoff and having it set as your standby frequency. Alternatively, you can ask the controller for the frequency. Once on with the tower, you will proceed as you did when flying into Class D airspace.
Skyhawk 67 Lima, contact tower 119.9er.
Tower 119.9er, Skyhawk 67 Lima. Dayton Tower, Skyhawk 6167 Lima, 3 mile final, runway 6 right.
Skyhawk 6167 Lima, caution wake turbulence, cleared to land, runway 6 right.
Skyhawk 67 Lima, cleared to land, runway 6 right.
Skyhawk 67 Lima, continue on 6 right, left on Bravo, ground point 9er when clear.
Continue on 6 right, left on Bravo, ground point 9er, Skyhawk 6167 Lima. Dayton ground, Skyhawk 6167 Lima, clear of 6 right at Bravo, taxi to Stevens Aviation.
Skyhawk 67 Lima, turn right on taxiway Foxtrot, proceed on Foxtrot to ramp on left.
Right on Foxtrot, Foxtrot to ramp on left, Skyhawk 67 Lima.
When you are ready to depart from the primary airport in Class Charlie airspace, a logical flow will help you to exit smoothly. First, listen to the ATIS frequency. At busier airports, it may be best to listen to ATIS before starting your engine. While not likely for VFR operations, ATC may implement engine starting delays to control the flow of departures. A starting delay notice should be included on the ATIS message. At a tower-controlled field inside Class C or Class B airspace, your first ground contact with ATC will generally be on the clearance delivery frequency. This controller will provide the VFR clearance for your flight and may provide you with a unique transponder squawk code. Your communication with clearance delivery should occur prior to taxi. Write down these instructions and read them back to the controller.
Dayton clearance, Skyhawk 6167 Lima, requests VFR departure south at 3,500 with information echo.
Skyhawk 6167 Lima, VFR departure south approved. Fly runway heading until 2,000 feet, then proceed on course. Maintain at or below 3,500, departure frequency 118.85, squawk 0422, contact ground 121.9er when ready to taxi.
VFR departure south, runway heading until 2,000 feet, then on course, altitude at or below 3,500, squawk 0422, departure frequency 118.85, ground 121.9er, Skyhawk 67 Lima.
Skyhawk 67 Lima, readback is correct.
Skyhawk 67 Lima, roger.
Taxi from your parking spot to the edge of the non-movement area and contact ground for permission to taxi.
Dayton ground, Skyhawk 6167 Lima, on the eastern edge of Stevens Ramp with clearance and echo, taxi for departure.
Skyhawk 6167 Lima, runway tree 6, taxi via left on Foxtrot to the end, turn right, hold short, runway 24 left.
Runway tree 6 via Foxtrot, hold short, runway 24 left, Skyhawk 67 Lima.
Skyhawk 67 Lima, cross runway 24 left, taxi via Kilo, turn right on Hotel.
Cross runway 24 left, taxi via Kilo and Hotel, Skyhawk 67 Lima.
Continue to monitor ground frequency while completing your before takeoff checks. When ready to go, contact the tower.
Dayton Tower, Skyhawk 6167 Lima, ready to take off runway tree 6 at Hotel.
Skyhawk 6167 Lima, tower. Hold short, traffic on half-mile final.
Holding short, Skyhawk 67 Lima.
Skyhawk 67 Lima, Dayton Tower, wind 020 at 8. Fly runway heading, runway tree 6 cleared for takeoff.
Runway heading, cleared to takeoff, Skyhawk 67 Lima.
Shortly after your takeoff, the tower will hand you off to departure. Change to the frequency assigned with your clearance.
Skyhawk 67 Lima, contact departure.
Contact departure, Skyhawk 67 Lima. Dayton departure, Skyhawk 6167 Lima, through 1,500, runway heading.
Skyhawk 6167 Lima, Dayton departure, radar contact, climb and maintain 3,500.
Climbing to 3,500, Skyhawk 67 Lima.
Skyhawk 67 Lima, turn left 270.
Left 270, Skyhawk 67 Lima.
The departure controller may continue to give you radar vectors, or he may allow you to resume your own navigation. Be careful, resume on navigation does not release you from the controller. It simply allows you to follow your own course.
Skyhawk 67 Lima, say on course heading.
On course heading 170, Skyhawk 67 Lima.
Skyhawk 67 Lima, roger. Turn left heading 170, resume on navigation.
Heading 170, then on navigation, Skyhawk 67 Lima.
Once you are clear of the controller's airspace, you will be specifically released from the frequency. Then, and only then, are you permitted to change from the controller's frequency.
Skyhawk 67 Lima, leaving my airspace to the south, squawk 1200, frequency change approved.
Squawk 1200, frequency change approved, Skyhawk 67 Lima.
Now that we've flown into and out of an airport in Class C airspace, we'll move on to the biggest and busiest, an airport in Class B airspace. Class B airspace is found around several of the busiest airports in the U.S. Radio communications for VFR flights to or from a Class B airport are not that much different than operations in a Class C airport. There are regulatory differences, and the airspace and radio may be busier, but the communications procedures are very similar.
The shape of Class B airspace will be unique to the needs of the area. Your initial contact with the controllers should occur well outside the depicted airspace. 5 to 10 miles outside the Bravo should provide sufficient time to get permission to enter the controlled area. And yes, you must get explicit permission to enter Class B airspace. Simply establishing radio contact does not allow you to enter as it did with Class C and D airspace. Your first communication should be listening to the ATIS information. With the ATIS identifier in hand, contact approach control. You can find the approach control frequency for your sector in the chart supplement. If you happen to call on the wrong sector's frequency, don't worry. The controller will steer you to the correct frequency.
Cincinnati approach, Aztec 702 Sierra Papa, 6 miles east of Claremont County, 4,500, landing Cincinnati with Mike.
Aztec 702 Sierra Papa, remain outside the Class Bravo, squawk 0412 ident.
0412, ident, Aztec 2 Sierra Papa.
Aztec 2 Sierra Papa, radar contact 4 miles east of Claremont County Airport. Fly heading 280, cleared to enter the Class Bravo, expect a visual runway 18 center.
Heading 280, cleared to enter Class Bravo, expect the visual for 18 center, Aztec 2 Sierra Papa.
Aztec 2 Sierra Papa, descend and maintain 3000.
Down to 3000, Aztec 2 Sierra Papa.
Aztec 2 Sierra Papa, traffic at your 10 o'clock and 4 miles, a northbound Cessna at 2500.
Aztec 2 Sierra Papa, looking for the traffic. Aztec 2 Sierra Papa has the traffic.
Roger. Aztec 2 Sierra Papa, turn left heading 240.
Heading 240, Aztec 2 Sierra Papa.
Aztec 2 Sierra Papa, 4 miles from the airport, descend to pilot's discretion, join the final approach for the visual 18 center. Traffic is in RJ on 1 mile final for 18 center.
Aztec 2 Sierra Papa, joining final for runway 18 center. Altitude pilot's discretion, RJ traffic in sight.
As with the Class C airspace, the approach controller will hand you off to the tower controller.
Aztec 2 Sierra Papa, contact the tower 118.3.
Contact the tower 118.3, Aztec 2 Sierra Papa. Cincinnati Tower, Aztec 702 Sierra Papa, 2 mile final, runway 18 center.
Aztec 702 Sierra Papa, caution wake turbulence, cleared to land, runway 18 center.
Aztec 2 Sierra Papa, cleared to land, runway 18 center.
Aztec 2 Sierra Papa, first left turn, ground point 7 when clear.
First left, ground point 7, Aztec 2 Sierra Papa. Cincinnati ground, Aztec 702 Sierra Papa, clear of runway 18 center at Delta 8, parking general aviation ramp.
Aztec 2 Sierra Papa, turn right on taxiway Delta. Hold short, runway 27.
Right on Delta, hold short, runway 27, Aztec 2 Sierra Papa.
Aztec 2 Sierra Papa, cross runway 27, left on Mike. Continue to the ramp on right.
Cross runway 27, left on Mike to the ramp, Aztec 2 Sierra Papa.
Departing from the primary airport in Class B airspace is much like the departure from a Class C airport. You will start with the ATIS, follow this with clearance delivery, and then over to ground control to get to the runway. Your departure communications will continue with the tower until handed off to departure control. You will stay with departure or another radar-controlled frequency until clear of the Class Bravo airspace.
Cincinnati clearance, Aztec 702 Sierra Papa, request for VFR departure, heading 090, 3500.
Aztec 702 Sierra Papa, VFR departure, 090 approved. Fly runway heading after departure, maintain at or below 3,500. Departure frequency 126.65. Squawk 0241 and contact ground 121.3 when ready to taxi.
VFR departure heading 090, runway heading. Altitude at or below 3,500, squawk 0241. Departure frequency 126.65, ground 121.3, Aztec 2 Sierra Papa.
Aztec 2 Sierra Papa readback is correct.
Cincinnati ground, Aztec 702 Sierra Papa on the general aviation ramp, ready to taxi with November.
Aztec 702 Sierra Papa, runway 18 left, taxi via right on Mike, left on Tango to the end.
Taxi to 18 left via Mike and Tango, Aztec 2 Sierra Papa. Cincinnati Tower, Aztec 702 Sierra Papa, ready for takeoff, runway 18 left.
Aztec 2 Sierra Papa, Cincinnati Tower, wind 160 at 8, fly runway heading, runway 18 left, cleared for takeoff.
Runway heading, cleared for takeoff, runway 18 left, Aztec 2 Sierra Papa.
Aztec 2 Sierra Papa, contact departure.
Contact departure, Aztec 2 Sierra Papa. Cincinnati departure, Aztec 702 Sierra Papa, 1,600, climbing to 3,500, runway heading.
Aztec 702 Sierra Papa, Cincinnati departure, radar contact, climb and maintain 3,500.
Climb and maintain 3,500, Aztec 2 Sierra Papa.
Aztec 2 Sierra Papa, turn left, 090.
Heading 090, Aztec 2 Sierra Papa.
Aztec 2 Sierra Papa, leaving my airspace to the east, squawk 1200, frequency change approved.
Squawk 1200, frequency change approved, Aztec 2 Sierra Papa.
With that, we've looked at the most common types of VFR communication. These were the normal procedures, but you may see variations in the air. In our final section, we'll look at some abnormal procedures, how to handle things when they don't go as planned. You are on a cross-country flight, and ATC tells you to contact approach on a different frequency. After tuning it in, you get no response. What to do? Check your audio panel to ensure you are on the proper radio. Go back to the previous frequency. If both procedures fail, further troubleshoot the system by checking for a stuck mic and that the radio volume is turned up. If your radio has completely failed, divert to a non-tower field unless other circumstances require a landing at a towered field. If your destination has a control tower, follow the procedure set out in the regs for getting their attention and follow the light gun signals to a landing. If your radio fails while en route to a non-tower field, continue on, but be extra alert when entering the pattern. Remember, two-way radio communication is not required. This scenario brings up an interesting point, the use of a handheld aviation transceiver. In a communication out emergency, they are worth their weight in gold. Nowadays, these transceivers are reasonably priced and could certainly get you out of a touchy situation. Well, that concludes our discussion of VFR radio communications. If you follow the guidelines presented in this program, you will be able to communicate in a professional manner. Remember that good communication skills will not only give you confidence in flying the system, but will help keep you and others safe. Until next time, I'm Rob Ryder. So long.